Y'all want to see some possible evidence for the Myth? Hey everyone, I'm Josiah and I study comparative mythology. So your first question probably is, what is an Myth? I am so glad you asked. The Myth is a scholarly term used to refer to proto-mythology. In other words, the mythology that is theorized to have come before all of the myths and that all of the myths stem from. For those of you that know my platform, I usually just call it the mythical matrix. But I think I may have found some evidence for the Myth in Genesis and in another story as well. But let's talk Genesis first. So some scholars argue that Genesis 1:1 is better translated as when God began to create, not as God created the initial heavens and earth and then formed everything. And after some deep dives, I agree with that, but we'll save that for another video. Now where my interest is the implications, because this means that God didn't create everything ex nihilo. So what was there before creation then? Water. And then Mayim, which is the Hebrew word for waters, is the only thing stated, but it's sort of implied that land is present within the Mayim as well. Let me explain. Because when God is creating the land, he says, let dry ground appear, which is to be made visible. We could argue that maybe this is ex nihilo, but maybe not. But if we have land mixed in with water, what is that? That's sediment-rich water, which then explains why the sea is created as being salty. But wait, it gets even more interesting here. Because we define this water mixed with land as mud or silt. And then this idea connected to something for me, because if we jump over to the Enuma Elish, which is the Babylonian creation myth, there are two often overlooked deities named Lamu and Lahamu. Although there is apparently some scholastic debate over what these deities are, these primordial deities that are the children of Tiamat and Apsu, the main water primordial deities, are sometimes understood to be mud or silt deities. So we have this idea of primordial water and mud being mixed together and existing before the creation of the world, vaguely intertwined in Genesis and the Enuma Elish. And I already hear the comment section. Come here. I like you, but this is not proof that Genesis copied the Enuma Elish. These themes are so faint and vague in both stories, this speaks to either one, a more cultural understanding of these ideas, or two, it speaks to the Myth, and I lean towards the second of those two options. And if you do think Genesis copied the Enuma Elish, I would encourage you to check out some of my content, because I have a whole podcast episode and short form video talking about this exact topic. Links in the bio and videos are available on the YouTube channel. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to join us as we unravel the mythical matrix.